The button. Hello.
Hi, party people.
Hi.
We are here. So sorry, we're just a couple minutes late, but it's good to see you, everybody.
Hi, guys.
No, I did not. The monster did not get me. Sorry.
That's what they want you to think. They've taken
Well,
body snatcher situation, maybe. Hopefully not.
okay, Alyssa, can you go ahead and start with introductions?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa. I write books. It's been a minute since I've live streamed, so I am a little rusty, but I write thrillers generally. Just finished one up last week, so I'm actually kind of in the middle of some things, doing some brainstorming for a Who Is She fantasy novel, apparently.
Ooh,
and then also
join the club.
working on some query prep stuff. I also might be editing a video. We will see where the wind blows me for these sprints, but that is what is
There you
up.
go.
Love it. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy. My channel is Andy E. Sears. And I am currently in the process of revising my debut fantasy novel that is the first installment of a fantasy trilogy titled House of Aptos. So I recently wrapped up draft 2, which was a huge milestone. Took like 8 months, and now I'm in draft 3. I'm kind of coming off a little bit of some educational weeks trying to improve my craft, but I am right on the brink of really diving back into chapter 3 or draft 3. So I'll be drafting actually a new scene tonight, but other than that, once I get through that drafting, I'll be heading back into revision. So I'm excited.
So fun.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna New from the channel Anna New, and I've been kind of working on a couple projects. Ghost Side is what's known on my channel, but I've been kind of ghosting Ghost Side for a little bit and working on a fantasy book. I think I've just been wanting to gain more writing confidence before I go back into this book I want to self-publish, if that makes sense. So I'm very excited to be brainstorming and continually writing, my new fantasy book, which is really, really cool.
So fun. Are we all working on fantasy then today? Is that, or no, I guess you're kind of doing like query stuff, Alyssa, and like anything, like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then hi. Oh,
sorry, go.
No, you're fine. You're fine. My name is Joy. You're on my channel, Right with Joy. And I just finished the first draft of what will hopefully be my debut. Currently calling it Project Phoenix. And yeah, I'm still like, it's so surreal that I just finished the first draft, but we're here. But I do want to do like a little bit of revision prep, kind of take some notes of like things that I already know I want to change structurally about the novel, as well as like I want to make like a reverse outline, because I did not go in really with much of an outline. I was more of like a headlights writer, or like kind of plantser, gardener, whatever you want to call it. So I'm excited to like actually get a bird's eye view of my first draft. So I think first I'm going to work on the reverse outline during this stream, and then we'll see how long that takes me. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. And then really quick, okay, a lot of friends are here, so I want to see who's here. And looks like we've got some questions already as well. So let's see. Jess is here. Hello. Faybelle. Hello. Yanni. Jade. Anna. Okay, you're cooking. Oh my gosh. That sounds really good. And honey mustard salmon. Oh, that actually sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, Tia can't be here, but she just popped in to say hi. Hi, Tia. And then Ingrid. Oh my gosh. I can usually never catch sprints live and end up watching the back later. So I'm excited to be live here for once. Well, we're so happy that you're here. What an honor. Okay. And then bottled water is here. Oh, sorry.
Water.
Yeah. We were delayed in our start. Joshua, Minnow, Lark. Sorry, everyone's like, yeah, we're a little late. And then Ian. Hi, everyone. Wow. I'm really happy to see everybody here. Also, yes, Alyssa, congratulations on
everybody's fresh
that.
off of a draft.
Yeah. That's pretty fun. And also, I thought this was so sweet. I wanted to say great big thanks to everyone. This AuthorTube community has been so helpful and inspiring, and I'm finally making great progress on my book. 30K words into your draft now. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Also, thanks to Anna for introducing me via her shout out to AuthorTubers podcast.
Oh.
Oh. And then, Amelia's here. Okay, lots of really fun friends. Okay. Also, another thing for Anna, the first author tuber I came across was Anna. Oh my gosh. That's so fun. Anna, you're the gateway for people.
Oh my gosh. Y'all should make like a favorite author too. It's like so fun. I love fangirling about like everyone.
Yeah, that is so fun. And then Evelyn is also here. Hi. Okay, well, hello, everyone. Okay, are we good to start answering questions? Also, if my voice sounds really weird, it's because I had bronchitis all week and I'm like finally getting over it.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm surviving. But okay, let's see. We already got a lot of really good questions. So let me see. Ooh, okay, this is a fun one. What made you want to join the AuthorTube space, and how did you decide what your first video was going to be?
Ooh, I started about 2 years ago, February, so I've been around a little bit. And when I started, it was because I have a background in video, so I do video generally, and I was looking for a way to kind of build some more accountability into my writing. And also, you know, there's kind of that thing that people say of like, it's nice to have a platform with writing, which like, I don't, that's a whole other topic we could get into if you really need a platform to sell. But at the time I was like, I better just start building some things up so that, you know, if I get to a point where it would be helpful to have a platform, I already have something going. And it was really motivating for me to do writing vlogs. And at the time I was like, maybe I'll talk about books too. So my first video is actually a monthly reading wrap up. And then my second video is my first writing vlog. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Awesome.
I kind of was just perusing in the background of AuthorTube for a while, watching other people, as most of us do to start. And then I watched Brielle's video of like what you need to know if you want to start an AuthorTube. So shout out Brielle, because I was like, I could do that when I was watching her video.
Yeah.
And so similarly, I also just kind of I loved writing, but didn't find myself dedicating a lot of time to it the way I knew I wanted to. So I was like, maybe if I had some formality of like obligation to tell someone about it other than my husband, I would do it. So my first video is so rough now when I watch it back, but I joined AuthorTube last May, and my first video is literally me just drafting words, and I've made some ramen noodles sometime during that video too. So it's chaotic. I introduce myself, and that's about it. Yeah.
No need to brag, but I was Andy's second subscriber. If
Literally.
anybody was
No
wondering.
way.
Number 2.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I started the channel. My husband watched me hit create, and then he subscribed immediately. And then Alyssa came very shortly thereafter, which was so fun.
Just came across it
Amazing.
randomly. Yeah.
Yes. I guess my advice with that would be don't overthink your first video. Mine was real random. Like I didn't put much planning into it, and I think it's been a good first however many months I've been on here. So anyway, just if you want to start one, start one. There's not any science to it. Be yourself and talk about what you want to talk about.
I technically started YouTube doing something else. I have like, do you guys remember like Rainbow Loom? Like little bands with the bracelets and stuff. So I kind of was more of a craft channel until like 2021. That's when I started to branch into AuthorTube, because I was like, you know, like grade 11. Like I was like getting into high school, still doing this like, not that it's like not kiddish, but it kind of felt like not me anymore. So that's why I started to watch a lot of AuthorTube. And I think that's when I started to branch into like other hobbies, including writing. And that's just basically what made me want to start doing YouTube, since I was already doing it, but wanted to do something that was more close to my heart. And I think one of the main drivers was just simply the fact that writing's really, really lonely. And I just felt like I wanted to tell people about my stories. And I remember doing like a couple videos, and one of them, like one of my first videos was like just ranting about my characters, and I like did them in Art Breeder, and I would just like talk about them, and that was like the best thing in the world. So I just wanted to continue doing that. So I think it's so great just to share your own stories. And like, yeah, it's good just to kind of show your own process as well throughout as you grow. Yeah.
I love that. Oh man, I think for me, so initially, so I will preface this with saying that like the I guess barrier to entry for me to get into AuthorTube was a little bit lower than for most people because I already have another YouTube channel that's about houseplants. So like I already had like I guess like psychologically I kind of had like the confidence of like I'd already been posting videos online for a while, like on YouTube. I already had all of this stuff for editing videos and filming videos. So like generally I felt like, okay, well I can just dive into this whenever I want to. And just for like background on me, I've always been a writer. Like I've loved writing since the time I was a child. I think that's pretty common for a lot of writers actually, I've noticed, which is really interesting, or at least like they love storytelling. And then I actually majored in creative writing, but then I got married, had kids, and had like a 5-year hiatus from writing and most reading. Like I was still reading a little bit, but not anywhere near the level that I used to. But then I kind of started like re-engaging in my hobbies again, especially reading and writing. Reading came first, of course. And then as I was reading books, I was like, well, I want to write books now. Because I just have that like writer soul. Like I just have to tell stories, especially if I'm ingesting stories. I'm like, well, I have my own ideas and things that I want to tell, and like I really miss crafting words and putting things together. So I started writing, and kind of in tandem with getting back into reading and writing, I've always watched a lot of YouTube, so I got back into kind of like booktube space first, and then I sort of like sidestepped into like watching, oh gosh, what's his name? He does all like the world building videos. Hello Future Me. I like binge watched all of his videos as I was like brainstorming for like my own world building and fantasy and that sort of thing. But then from there I just kind of went down the line of like, Abby Emmons and Anna New, and then Lindy Young was like I feel like the first person I started actually writing like watching writing vlogs, and then I started branching off into everyone else that I now know like and watch and love, like Brielle, and of course Ande and Alyssa, and yeah, everyone like Taylor, and yeah. So at that point I think I had been drafting my book for like 6 months, and then I've been watching all these author tubers, and I just started getting the urge to like start sharing what I was working on and verbally processing my own story. And again, the barrier to entry was a little bit lower for me. So one day I sort of impulsively decided, like actually it was like a week-long process of, okay, you know what? I actually think I do want to do this. And I talked to my husband about it. I was like, what do you think? And he was like, well, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. It might be a little bit much for your schedule because you're already like a little worn thin by everything that you do. But if you want to do it, go for it. Like I support it. So I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do it. So I just recorded a video, and I didn't really know what I wanted to record. I just started rambling about my writing journey and what had brought me to the present moment. And then I also did like a mini sliver of a writing vlog kind of in there. But it was maybe like rambling about my writing journey for 30 minutes and then like 10 minutes of a writing vlog probably. And then I posted it, and the rest is history. And it's been a few months, and I've loved it so much. So sorry, that was a very long-winded answer, I feel, but there we go.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, let's see. Next question. And then are we good with doing like 2 25-minute sprints after we answer a few questions? So like answer some questions now, then 25-minute sprint, and then answer questions, and then another sprint.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Okay. Let's see. Ooh. If you could give your younger writer self any advice, what would it be?
I think mine would be to chill out and stop freaking out so much, generally, would be my advice to younger me. I've always been very publishing focused, and I mean, I still am, but like as a 14-year-old, I was like, I must be published before I'm out of high school, or everything will be a failure. Like that
I feel
was
that.
my attitude, and I just took everything so seriously. And I'm glad that I did, because I think it, ingrained in me a writing practice earlier than it maybe would have. But sometimes I need to remind my current self that like writing is supposed to be fun, writing is supposed to be creative, and it's okay to lean into those parts of it. So I would try to impart that. She wouldn't listen, is the thing. She wouldn't listen to that advice, but I would still give it, I think.
Completely on the opposite pendulum of Alyssa. I would have just told myself to pursue it. I think I spent a really long time knowing that writing was my passion, like literally since fourth grade, and spent a long time beating around the bush what building a life pursuing that would look like. And even in college, like senior year of high school, I knew I wanted to be either a writing major or minor, but I was afraid of the impracticality of a degree like that.
Yeah, I
So
feel that.
yeah, so I chose something else that I felt like was secure and just to, I mean, I graduated college a semester early, so I second semester junior year kind of had a come to Jesus moment per se, where I was like, oh man, I knew I should have been studying that and I didn't, and I only have one semester left now, so like I'm not gonna spend a bunch of money to go to school again so anyway, from there it was just like, okay, I'm choosing the DIY path and the self-starter path of it. But anyway, I would, if I could go to like high school freshman Andy, I'd be like, the things that you've known about yourself since you were a little girl are true. So maybe don't try to change them or put them to the side for the sake of something you believe you could be good at that will also serve the world in a monetary way. Like, do what will serve you and the world in a good way and what feeds you and feeds other people. And so that's the advice I'd give myself. And I think I would have listened to it if I could time travel. I think I would have been like, okay, we must have some fire going on in the future, so I'm gonna do it. So anyway.
Yeah, we love a teachable queen.
I really don't know. You go first, Joy. I'm still thinking.
Okay, yeah, you're good. Oh man, I think for me, maybe it's a little bit more similar to Andy, in that I always I always loved writing, always really wanted to pursue it, but I also was really intimidated by just the notion of ever publishing anything. Like, I don't know, like I wanted my stuff to be out there, but I felt so conflicted. And I was like, oh, but like, because I remember Googling about like the querying process, being like a young writer, like 13, 14, and being completely, utterly intimidated by the notion of like having an agent and having an editor and like having to talk to people about my writing. I was like, oh, but that means that other people actually have to like read it and like look at it, and then it's exposed, and I don't know, which is funny because like I felt that weird dichotomy of yes, I want to write my things and I want to share my stories with the world, but also don't look at it. So I was really dealing, I think, with a lot of like that insecurity for a long time. And I also was a major perfectionist too. So like when I was drafting, like literally everything, I wouldn't really outline things, but everything that came out, if it wasn't a perfect sentence, if it didn't flow, I would get so like frustrated with myself, and that would really, I think, interfere with my ability to just like sit down and like write a complete draft, because the draft that I just completed was my first actual full complete draft of a novel, even though I've been writing my whole life. I just have a bunch of unfinished drafts lying around that like, yeah, they're super, I was just way too perfectionistic about them the whole time. So I would tell myself probably, yeah, be more confident, like take a deep breath, like you're fine. And you don't even have to like try to query, just like keep writing and keep at it. But also like, yeah, have a realistic expectation for your first draft. Like you don't have to be as much of a perfectionist, like let it flow. And that's what revision is for. And I think I just like didn't have revision as a possibility in my mind. I think like I knew that it existed, but it felt nebulous to me. Like I was like, I don't know how that works. So I'm just going to try to churn out a perfect draft first.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. Something just came to my mind. It was just like save your damn work.
Yeah.
There is like a draft that I have actually lost. I think it was just the zero draft, but I the way that I write it, it was like at least 50K. Yes, that's like gone. Although it's still in my brain.
Oh,
like
that's so tragic.
Yeah, that's kind of just. My mom would always tell me, she's like an academic, so she has like version 1, version 2 of like if she makes like a sentence change. And she would always tell me, Anna, save your work. And I'm just silly like that.
Yeah.
So that's like a tip. The only other thing I would say is that just recently I've been I think a piece of advice I'd give was to like make sure you know yourself and how you tick in terms of like writing. So I think I beat myself up a lot by thinking it's normal to write every single day. And if I'm not writing every single day, then like I'm not a writer. When I just tick differently, where I actually kind of work in bursts more so. That's where like something like an NaNoWriMo really works for me, where I can like smash out a book in like 1-2 months, instead of write a book over 6 months to 12 months. So I think being more conscious about that is important, and not comparing yourself, because writing is such an subjective thing. So trying to compare writing routines is something that's silly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like, I don't know, I've never even tried to churn out a really, like, a lot of writing in 1 month. I think the most I've probably written in a single month is maybe 20,000 words, which is like a lot, but it's not like 50K, you know? I don't even know what that would look like.
I don't
But
either. I always wonder, like, I think the most I tried to do nano this year, and I hit like 35 or 37 or something like
yeah.
that. I always
That's
wonder,
still
like,
impressive.
thank you. I always wonder what would I be capable of without a full-time job, because like
Yes.
that's 40 hours a week times 4 days or 4 weeks in the month, and then like how many hours are taken away from that, and then sleeping. So like
Yeah, like
there's so much time that literally doesn't even, it's not part of the calculation of writing time. So
yeah.
I always wonder what my mind would be capable of if there wasn't so much that was, taking up room for writing. But then at the same time, I think there's something that would be lost if there was not this craving to step into writing. I think the fact that I can't always do it gives me really productive sessions when I can, because
That makes
I
sense.
this room in my brain that's just storing up with information. So for anyone else, which I think is almost all of us out there who are living that full-time job
Yep.
or school or whatever, balanced with writing, I think sometimes it can be a blessing in disguise that we just forget about when we're daydreaming about having writing be the only thing in play. So I try to remember that.
Yeah.
I had a question. I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm still in school, and I'm so scared that like, does it get harder or easier to find time to write once you have like a full-time job? Because I thought maybe the rigidness of a schedule could kind of give you more time to like, I don't know, more like I don't know how to describe it, but more of a schedule to kind of be like, I'll write in the afternoon when I finish work and clock off. When you're studying, you're always studying something, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as someone who is in school, I mean, I finished my degree less than 3 years ago, so it doesn't feel like it was that, far away. Yeah, the way you just described it is exactly true. Because when I'm off work, and I thankfully have a job that I don't really have to take home with me. It's easy to like disconnect and then just pick it back up tomorrow at 8 a.m. So, yeah, definitely balancing a full-time job. There's never like, for me anyway, there's never homework per se for me to do. So when I go home, that time is mine and I can do whatever I want with it, which is so helpful. But
The one thing for me was when I graduated, I think there's sort of this like rebellion that happens in your mind where it's like, I don't have to do any work now. And so sometimes I actually struggled to get into a really good writing routine right away, because I was like, no, I can do whatever. I can sit and watch TV in the evening if I want. I can go and like I can go read books for fun now. Like, I don't want to go and like put myself on another imposed deadline after being on deadlines for, 4 years. So there was a little bit of that. I actually spent the first year out of college. I read, I think, like 200 books that year, and I barely wrote anything. Like
That's amazing.
I revised a book over that year, and it was a rough time. But then after that, once I kind of refilled creatively on a major scale, then I could get into a good routine. So I think it just kind of depends on what your attitude is towards writing. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, my life is chaotic soup, so I just try to write when I can, honestly. But I don't have like a strict 9 to 5. And largely, like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I also work part-time, mostly from home, but it's not like established hours necessarily, other than a couple of meetings. It's just like I do things when I can. So but it works. It works. Yep. Okay, let's see. I think we got a couple more questions, and then we should probably start our sprint soon. So maybe let's do like one question, and then dive into sprints. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Because we're already at 25 minutes. Okay. And I know we might not get to all of the questions because there's actually quite a few. But okay, let's see. Ooh, what would be your dream writer's retreat?
I do a lot of like going on a writing retreat for the weekend, like by myself, to just get in, like trick myself into a mindset of productivity, because like there's something about the idea of going on a writing retreat that's like so idyllic, of like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to write for 12 hours and I'm going to finish my whole book. And I remember before I was on AuthorTube, I would watch like going on a writing retreat and finishing my book, like all of those videos. And there's something so magical about that.
It sounds so fun.
I think somewhere just with a lot of good seating and good coffee and like, I don't know. Like, there's not a place in my mind. It's more of like an inside that I picture. Right. It's more about the seating and the vibes internally. But I also think going with people who know me and know my story, so I can just like immediately bounce things off of people who have read my book, you know, like that, I think would be the ideal.
Yeah.
So as people would know from, if you watch my channel, you saw a recent video I got to go on.
Yeah.
Very fun. We got 2 days of writing time in. I think my ideal or dream retreat would be at least 3 to 4 days. It did feel like my brain could have gone longer, I think, but I can't imagine trying to do like a normal work week style, because I think my brain, for how much intensive time you have, I think my brain would be fried and stop being productive to the story. So I think like a 3-day writing retreat, full days of writing would be the dream. And then what Alyssa just mentioned about being there with people who know your story, that is so valuable. Me and Caitlin and Brielle did not go into the retreat like that, but we came out of it that way because we realized that like the necessity of having someone to, with a writer's mind, to just say, okay, this or this, or I'm stuck in this maze of problems. You might be able to see a different way out that I can't see for this character. Can I just describe it to you? And you anyway. So I think that's really valuable, having at least one person that you can kind of bounce ideas off of. But 2 was really good too, because you know, the more minds the better. And then I don't know, location, I think anywhere with a view. I like the lake was so nice, and I do have a little like fantasy in my head where someday I'm writing some book that's based in Italy or something, so I write the book in Italy. Like I go,
oh my gosh, that'd be the dream.
Airbnb for a month, and like you live there for a month and you write it in the setting, so that way it's like authentic on the page. That would be my dream. Like I have all the money in the world and can take a month off of work to go live abroad and write a book. I think that would be incredible. But at that point, I don't know if it's a retreat anymore. It seems more like a project.
That's just your lifestyle.
Yeah, but that would be like my crazy in the clouds dream. That would, I think, be just incredible to get the chance to do. So
yeah, Andy, your vlog is, I think that's my dream. Like I want to go somewhere in the mountains. I think it's fun to have it like go to a retreat like in a city, but I think for writing you need some sort of stillness and clarity and quietness. And I'd want to go somewhere cold, because here in Australia, I mean, it would be great if I was writing like a beach romance. I could just go down to the beach. But like I've actually struggled writing like really dark fantasy in like such a bright city with palm trees everywhere. So I would love to go somewhere cold, somewhere lots of mountains where you could just like travel and hike through and like pretend that, oh my gosh, there's like totally a dragon's cave over there. Let me go check it out. I think that would just be so fun. Yeah.
It's got to have the right vibes.
It does.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to cough really fast. Gosh, the bronchitis is still there. Okay, it's haunting me. I know, Alyssa, I'm like seeing all of the friends too. Hang on, I want to acknowledge people. Mick is here. Miley's here. Oh my gosh. And Krenko, hello. Okay. Sorry, just lots of friends. So I just wanted to say hi really fast. But in terms of writing retreat, I was like, wait a second, what was the question? So I've been on one, and I did a video of it. I went with my husband to like downtown, which like being in the city was nice to like be able to like be in coffee shops and stuff. But I think for my next writing retreat or like a dream writing retreat, I definitely would want to be more in the middle of nowhere and somewhere that's quiet where I could like go out for hikes and like kind of do what you were talking about, Anna, where you're like going outside and you can like envision things and it has the right vibes for whatever book that you're writing. So the fantasy that I'm currently writing is more of a like gothic high fantasy in terms of the vibe. So I would want to go to a place that has like a lot of fog. Honestly, frankly, probably Washington, like a lot of fog and like, is a little bit gloomy and, has lots of evergreens and you're like a little bit, just that like cozy, rainy feeling, and but I mean, yeah, obviously if I'm writing a different book for the next book, it would be different vibes required. But vibes that match. And as far as like having people, I don't know, I haven't done like a whole lot of writing in person with other writers with the exception of like when I was in my major, but even then like we all wrote our stuff separately and then we'd workshop it together. So I don't know. I don't like, I think I would like it, but I feel like I would be like a little bit shy at first, like a little bit intimidated at first to like talk about like, because like saying stuff about your project out loud to people like in the moment feels, I don't know, a little bit scary to me, but I feel like it would be so fun to go with some good friends. So yeah, I'm going to say like, I don't know. Also, hi, Ari. Good to see you.
Hi, Ari.
Okay, and did I say hi to Margot? I think I answered one of Margot's questions, but also hi. But okay, anyway, so many lovely people. Okay, well, are we ready to do a sprint?
Let's lock in, everybody.
Yep.
I'm so ready. And then let's see.
Also, I'm banning myself from doing thumbs up because I think I've done that so far. Because, like, you don't always want to interrupt someone on a stream, so you're like nonverbals.
I just go
exactly.
for the really
I know,
aggressive
I feel that.
nod. I'm like,
yuck. Oh
Yes,
yeah.
Alyssa does
Yep.
do the nod.
Yep. Okay, my hair probably just hit the mic. Okay. All right. Well, 25 minutes. Is everyone ready?
Let's do it. Bye, guys.
Let's do it.
Hi, friends. My power went out.
Oh no!
That's why I'm in the dark, but I can still
I'm
stream.
so sorry. Okay.
But I'll be in the dark. So,
Girl, I'm so sorry.
Did the tornado make a return trip?
I don't know. Yes. So for all the people who weren't here in the pre-show, I was almost late because a tornado passed through my town, and there
Yeah.
a smoking power line with the tree, and my house
That's so
actually
scary.
is blocked in on both sides by fallen trees right now, so we had to like park somewhere else and then walk to the house. Anyway, I had power when I got home.
Girl.
And then it just went out in the middle of that stream. But it's calm outside. The sky is beautiful and there's no rain or wind, so I don't know. They must be repairing the power line that got the tree fallen on, my guess.
Oh my gosh. Can I just say that I so appreciate your dedication to still be here?
Yes, please.
That's incredible.
It's giving like Blair Witch Project in the
Don't
dark.
say that. Don't say that.
I don't actually know what that's about. Like I've never actually
It's so
seen it. I've just
It's like found
is it really?
footage.
Yeah, it's not like a movie. It's like a documentary. Like they literally found footage. That's why it's really rough. It's like.
But didn't they film it like that though? Like.
No, it's like it's. I don't think so. Not to my
But
knowledge.
never mind. You
Well-
just look like
well,
a
I
girl
feel
in the
like-
dark.
Thank you.
I feel like it was maybe marketed that way, but I feel like it came out that it actually was planned. But I could be completely wrong. I don't know. Does anyone have fact checks for us?
I'll look
I have
it
no
up.
idea. Yep. But oh my goodness. So Andy's in the dark. Terribly sorry. Also, Alyssa is on a walking pad, it looks like. Okay, I do have questions. Do you feel like you're able to concentrate on everything?
It depends on the task. So
Okay.
I was actually video editing during that sprint, and if I'm doing really specific edits that are like right now I'm just rough cutting a video, so I can do that while walking.
Okay.
I can also type while walking, but if I'm doing like copy edits, I can't really do that because it's hard to like find a specific spot on the page
That makes
while
sense.
you're moving. But most things I can do and it's like I've been using the walking pad for like 2 years now, so it's pretty.
You're just used to it at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Also, the Blair Witch Project is fictional.
Okay, thank
Looks
God.
it up.
Because honestly, I was a little bit afraid there for a second, Andy. I was like, wait, am I
Sorry.
remembering wrong? Was it actually real? Because that would be so terrifying.
No, that's a great example of how rumors spread. Because I just been told that and believed it's true. So that's why you shouldn't believe everything you're told. Baby.
It was
my
all a lesson all along.
I did
Okay.
this on purpose. I'm just kidding.
Did anyone ever see that VeggieTales thing about like the rumor weed or something?
Yes, I did. 100%.
Okay, because the second you started talking about rumors, that just shot me back to when I was like 5 years old. Like that unlocked like a core memory. Okay, anyway, how did everyone do?
Good. I'm rough cutting a video right now. Got through, I would say, 3/4 of it. So that's good. Hopefully I can finish that up and then do some writing next sprint. So we'll
Ooh,
see.
very fun, very fun.
Sorry, my mom just came in and brought me a
Oh.
candle.
Oh,
So
that's so wholesome. I love it.
Yeah, anyway, mine went really well. I drafted another like 400 words to my scene that I'm in right now, which was kind of fun. So yeah, it was good. It was a little
awesome.
It was a little sidetracked by the power, but you know, we still made progress.
Yeah, I would expect that.
Wow, you did better than me. I drafted around 330 words, but kind of went over a bit of the chapter as well. So.
Nice. That's
Nice.
awesome. And then I got through reverse outlining the first 4 chapters, but it's taking a little longer than I expected it to, because I was like, oh, this'll just be so easy. But I keep on finding myself wanting to like make structural edits in the moment, and so I'm like, no. And so then I'm like making notes of like, okay, future me, like these are some things I want to change, as I'm kind of like skimming through the chapters, and I'm seeing literally so much that I want to change so much. And it's going to make it all so much better. But I'm also a little bit like, oh my gosh, like there's a lot that I want to change structurally, and about like the world building and the details that I'm sharing when there's going to be a lot of changes. So I'm a little bit like, but it's
Joy, it sounds like you are sitting exactly where I was 8 months ago. Because like what you were talking about earlier with your writing journey, House of Aptos, the first book, was also the first book I like finished drafting on for the same reason you were talking about. And I also reverse outlined because I also was a headlights writer for this book, which I will not be doing ever again, but I learned my lesson. I reverse outlined the book, which made it a lot better because I had those moments where it was like, wow, there's two paths I can pick right now, and I can revise what's here and the story would be okay. Or I could revise it to what I know it's capable of, and it will take me 7 months to get through draft 2. But I will tell you, as someone on the other side, it's really worth it when you see those things, like, here's the notes I'm making now. Like, I would suggest reverse outlining it for what it should be instead of what it is. And that's what I worked on in draft 2 was the correct revised outline.
That's a good idea.
It worked well for me. But
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I know it's definitely I'm looking at all the things I want to change and I'm like, this is going to take a long time, but it is going to be so much more worth it in the end, I'm sure. But man, yeah, it's such a different part of the process, you know, like it feels so strange. And okay, it looks like our Anna got 574 words. So well done. That's amazing. And Andy, everything you've just said is so real.
Oh, thank you, bottled
so
water.
True. So true. The end of sprint chimes. Okay, that's my favorite sound of all of the sound options. It's so like calming because I feel like some of the other ones are like very startling to me. So I tried to pick the most calming one. But okay, we got a question from Minnolark, if you want to answer. What part of the book do you tend to enjoy writing most? Beginning, middle, end, intros, midpoints, climaxes, plot twists? That's a good question.
It's a good question. I think it changes for the book. Like there's usually a scene that I'm really excited to write. It's usually the climax though, because I always just go a little, especially dictating, because if you don't know, I dictate my first drafts, and so I like speak to text them, so it's kind of like I get to do a little bit of acting, sort of.
That's so fun. Girl, I could never do that. I feel like I could never do that.
No, it's so fun. And when I get to the climax, like I remember for Project Sunshine, which is what I wrote in November, I was listening to like My Way by Frank Sinatra on my walking pad, and I was closing my eyes and I was just going. I'm sure most of it is not even usable words, but like there's something about all of the work of the book kind of coming into this one moment. I usually do all of Act 3 in like one chunk or one sitting because I just love to like have the whole impact of it. So I think that's probably where I sit.
That's really fun because I feel like I'm the exact opposite. Like the climax of the book intimidates me so much that I kind of wrote it, but I like skirted around it a little bit. Like I really brushed over all the details and I was like, I'm going to figure this out later. Because yeah, I think I'm intimidated by everything coming together. And I'm afraid of like missing something or it being too anticlimactic. And I don't know, like, I feel like I need to learn to not pull the punches. I need to like really dive in and make it something. But I actually think, oh, this is a tough. I think my first inclination is Dark Night of the Soul, like that moment of just absolute devastation, like what they tried or like what they thought that they wanted isn't what they actually wanted, and they realize that it's just they're in emotional, harrowing, just the depths, you know. The character hates themselves, they're wallowing, you know. but then like that's where the moment of like, depending on the type of story that you're writing, potential redemption is like right around the corner, and it's like the sun is about to rise, but they don't know it yet. And so me as the author, I know it's about to happen, but the character doesn't know it's about to happen. And I don't know, that just gets me really excited. But I like kind of sitting with them and they're suffering a little bit. I don't know, maybe I'm horrible, but
no, that because that was literally the first thing that came to my mind. Was also, I think when I started drafting this book, I really enjoyed the beginning a lot, just because there's so much world building and that's so fun to sink your teeth into and everything, which makes a lot of sense for fantasy. But the Dark Night of the Soul has been by far my favorite part to write and revise in this part or in this book, because it's so, I think especially in draft 2, it was the scene that really deeply attached me to Emery, my main character. And before that, like, loved her, whatever, she's great, but I didn't really like, I think when in revision I wasn't just writing the story, I was kind of like hearing her story for the first time too. And I like wept when I was doing the Dark Souls scene, and I have never cried at my writing before, so I think that was my favorite just because of my emotional attachment to it, instead of just being like, oh, this is fun, which is like the rest of the book is just fun, So anyway, I don't think you're weird, Joy, because I think it's really normal for writers to feel deeply attached to their work in that scene. And that makes sense why you would, adore the part in which you feel most attached and that the world is most real. So
for sure. Absolutely. How about you, Anna?
Yeah, I think I'm quite similar to Alyssa, where I think I would say the endings of a book, that's how I get my ideas. A lot of my ideas come actually at the final scene or one of the final scenes. So it's just like looking forward to writing that finally. Like the fantasy book I'm writing right now, there's a very particular scene that's just like so epic. And although maybe it does intimidate me to finally write it and like get to a point, it's just like having writing it just feels so surreal. So that's like what I'm always thrilled to end up writing. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay. Oh, it looks like Minolark is going to try dictating Alyssa. That sounds pretty fun. I feel like
the dark side.
even though I'm a verbal processor, I feel like I need to be able to like look back at what, I mean, I don't know what, with the dictation software, do you like see what you've said so you're able to like look back at it like in the moment? Yeah. Okay. I feel like that makes a difference, because if I'm just like sitting there rambling without like having any idea what I just said, I would absolutely not. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that would be better. I don't know. Bottled water.
No.
Next minute a day, 6 Machina. So the best I could do after honestly though, like I feel that after re-outlining 13 times. That sounds so tough. But like, yeah, that I honestly, okay, my cat is like probably in the frame. He just jumped up and was like, "Hi everyone." He just wants to be a part of things. Aw. But he's definitely gonna like knock over. He's an agent of chaos, so he's gonna like knock over the mic. He's gonna start typing on my keyboard.
Whoa, kitty. What's its name?
Kitty. His name is Alphonse.
Hi, Alphonse.
He's a sweet boy. Yeah, he loves to snuggle. But anyway, what the heck was I saying? Oh yeah, I think part of the reason I find like the climax so intimidating too is that like I want everything to come together, but especially since at least with this draft I was kind of more pantsing it a little bit more. I didn't feel the confidence of like, oh, I feel like I need to solve these problems, but I don't have any of the answers to these problems. So I feel that. Let's see. Oh, Alphonse Elric. Yes, he is named after Alphonse Elric. My favorite. It's from Full Metal Alchemist. It's an anime. And then, okay, I saw some other good questions pop in. Okay, sir, he's like trying to, I don't even know what he was trying to do, but he's like in the way as much as I love him. Let's see, what question? Ooh, do you read the genre you write the most frequently, or do you find that you read other genres more?
I don't read the genre I write, which is maybe a problem. I do read it occasionally. I write thrillers primarily. And I do read, I would say I read some like YA thrillers. Like there's some authors who are thriller writers that I read, but I mostly read like contemporary. I read a lot of rom-coms. I read a lot of lit fic. Well, I don't know if lit fic. Like Catherine Center, if you've ever read her, where it's like somewhere between a romance and a lit fic. And then also I read a lot of fantasy. because the things that I like about thriller are not actually the crime solving. It's the peril and the stakes, you know?
Ooh.
And so I think I write thrillers that read a little bit more like contemporary romance than they do thrillers, which jury's still out if that's going to work out. So, but yeah, I kind of read all around, but it's mostly like authors that I've gotten to know that I read less. I think more about the author and less about the genre.
Interesting. Okay.
I think I'd follow that. The last sentence you said, Alyssa, is really good. I think, yeah, I have authors I'm committed to reading. Like, I love Jodi Picoult, but she doesn't write the genre I read at all. Like, a lot of her books, you know, are around court cases or social justice issues or things like that. And I always enjoy her work and I enjoy her writing, but I probably will never write anything in that realm. But I enjoy works all over the place. I love fantasy. I love contemporary. I love romance. It's everything. And I don't read thrillers though, unfortunately, except for Alyssa's. I will totally read Alyssa's.
There we go.
But I don't like anything dark. So I don't read anything that has content that makes me feel gloomy inside. So basically anything not about that, I'm there. I also read a lot of nonfictions. Sorry.
Ooh, yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, just keep looking at my bookshelf. I think I read kind of a lot of fantasy, which I kind of do write. And I do read a lot of like just literary fiction as well. I've been kind of getting into more classics and like poetical works. I think I don't know. I think I've been more appreciating the great works, if that makes sense, and trying to actually immerse myself in like just great storytelling and hard writing, because it is really difficult to read a classic. But I've been trying my best. I recently read The Catcher in the Rye, which I think is technically a classic, and I really love that. That's kind of just like a literary fiction story, and it's just so fun. But I would say I basically read what I write as well. Yeah.
I don't know what the heck Alphonse is trying to do. He's like trying to go behind my laptop.
I want to go into the stream.
Yeah, exactly. Buddy, come on. I mainly write fantasy, and I definitely also I read other things other than fantasy, but fantasy by far is the biggest slice of the pie, I would say. But like different kinds of fantasy too, because there's like a lot of different subgenres out there, and I do feel like I get a decent variety of different kinds of fantasy. So I guess like romantic fantasy, but also like light academia and dark academia within like the fantasy realm. And then like more like magical realism stuff and like cozy fantasy and then grimdark. Like there's like a whole bunch, epic fantasy. There's a lot of different kinds of fantasies that I read. But I also do enjoy like litfic and classics very much. And then I've read a handful of contemporary romance books and I enjoy them, but I definitely am more attracted to like the ones that have more of a fantastical twist to them, or even like historical romance, like that feel a little bit different from a contemporary story. But yeah, I definitely do mostly read fantasy, which is also what I mostly write. Let's see. Oh, there's so many good questions. Okay. Oh, Emily says, thank you for the sprint. So helpful. I've been struggling to sit and get the words in recently. Okay. I do also, like, I love having these writing sprints on YouTube. Like, they've been a game changer for me to, like, write alongside people and be productive alongside people. So I'm happy to, like, also host them. So absolutely. I'm glad that you're here. And then she also had a question. If you could genre bend and add elements of another genre into your work in progress, for example, add sci-fi elements to a romance novel, mystery to fantasy, etc., what would be fun to play with? Which is a fun question.
Emily, little did you know, this is all I do. So the thrillers I write, I use rom-com tropes in them, typically, to structure them. So it's my current WIP is it's a fake dating bank robbery book is how I've been pitching it. So I'm so
excited for it.
So I like to blend those two genres specifically. And then the same with fantasy. This fantasy I'm working on is like a heavy romance, which I mean, like romance fantasy is not like that groundbreaking of a genre combination, but I do like when you get the best of both of those genres in one.
I would say that what currently feels present in my work is probably a little bit of a, not in the whole thing, but there's elements of a literary tone at certain points, which is not really I don't know if that's a genre in of itself or not, but it feels like it's not. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, there's romance in it, which feels fun, and then I think there's a literary voice to it at points, which is not always super common in fantasies. But anyway, I would love to write contemporary work in the future that is just has a little bit of romance. I think fantasy elements in terms of like epic storylines in the contemporary world would be really cool.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
But I don't think I have the skill to execute that at this point in my writing career, but maybe someday I'll be there. I don't know.
I think mystery is quite incorporated a little bit in my current fantasy book, which is kind of cool. And it kind of like just this question has helped me kind of think about certain things I can maybe lean more into in terms of blending those two genres together. I think it kind of fits really well, I think, especially when like there's a world building system around it, and there's lots of things like curses, and it's like unraveling a curse. That's kind of like the mystery element of why certain things are the way they are. So that's what I hope to do in this book. So that's kind of, but I think that's so cool, incorporating like other genres into your story to kind of make its own sub-genre, if that makes sense. I think it also works really well like pitching as well, because it's like, oh, if you like this and this, that's like exactly what this is. So that's me.
Oh man, that's such a tough question. So for my current work in progress specifically, so initially I was just categorizing it as a high fantasy with a romantic subplot, but now that I've reached the end of the first draft, and I'm kind of like looking back and reflecting, I'm realizing that I do have a lot of gothic elements to it. Like there's like gothic undertones and like the vibes. So I think in my revisions, I want to lean more into that. So I don't know if that would exactly be horror, because it's not a proper horror, but it just, if you look back at Gothic literature and the kind of vibes that they have, like, decaying things and, mist and like moody vibes and all that sort of thing. Like there's a lot of that in my book. And also a focus on the past sort of intruding on the present. Like that happens a lot in my book as well, which is, as I was realizing, oh, those are some Gothic elements. And also, anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit trail, because if I do, I'll start talking for forever. Okay. Anyway, so I think, leaning more into like the Gothic, which like is sort of is that like a subgenre kind of? And then obviously I already have like some of the romance elements as well. What was the other thing? Oh, and Andy, what you were saying about like the literary bent to like the style of writing, I also definitely have more of a literary leaning voice going on right now. And I think I'll lean into that because I think it just comes from reading a lot of classics, and also might kind of pair nicely with like the old classic Gothic literature. Maybe not quite as extreme. I'm not going to push it to that. We're not writing like Wuthering Heights out here, but having a little bit more of that bend to it, I think, is interesting. But not for this current work in progress, but in general, I think it would be really. I kind of want to see what like a cozy horror would look like. I don't think I would ever write a horror unless it were like a cozy horror. Does that make any sense at all? Like, I feel like that's such a clash of
That's
genres.
crazy. What?
But like, I think it could work.
I think
I don't know.
Becca's talked about something similar,
That's
like doing
right.
a cozy
It does
horror,
kind of have
cozy
a cozy
thriller.
horror a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I don't know how it would look or what it would, because I've never read a horror novel in my life, honestly.
Yeah, I've
But
read like one or two. Yeah, not very many. But I like the idea of it. Like it makes me think of like I don't know, like something about like autumn and Halloween sometimes can be like you know, you can lean into the scary part, but you can also lean into the cozy part of it and might have like I don't know. I don't really
yeah.
know what that would look like, but I feel like that would be really interesting to experiment with for sure. Like if I were to ever write a horror, it would be cozy because I don't have the guts to write an actual horror. Like it just is too like dark for me. But the cozy spin on it, maybe I could do. Um, oh, T. Kingfisher's books lean cozy horror. Actually, you're so right. I have only read one T. Kingfisher book, but I have heard that she has some like more horror stuff and like fantasy horror too is like another genre that I would not expect to exist, but it does. So like, I don't know, that could be interesting. But okay, maybe we do one more question and then jump into sprints. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Okay. It looks like we got a few. Oh my goodness. How do I decide? I always struggle with deciding which questions to ask. Um, Because we also had a few earlier that we did not. I guess we can answer this one because I feel like all of us have finished a draft relatively recently. So this, I think, was directed towards me initially just because I did just finish the draft. But like in general, like how does it feel to have like finally finished like whichever draft you were just on? How different from it is how you originally thought it would be?
I always say it never feels like you actually finished the book ever.
Yeah.
Like I never
Feel that.
actually feel like it's done. Even like books like The Wedding Season, which is querying right now, so like I'm done with that book right now, you know, and but it's still I finished the last page and I was like, well, now I have to write a query letter. Now I have to it's never done. But I recently, I'll just plug my Instagram, Alyssa Writes Books.
Oh.
I made a little reel that I found all the vlogs
Yes.
where it was every time I finished, like the moment I finished the book. And it's like 2 minutes after that moment, I was like, here's the next thing I got to do. But
Yeah.
like, it was so, somebody commented this and I didn't really realize it until I was editing it, is that there's the same sort of like, wow, like this is a moment expression on my face each time, and it's like over the whole video coursed like a couple of years of all the times I finished drafts, and it's still that same feeling of what am I like, how did I like what you know, it's this kind of like awe of this is done for now, you know. But
Yeah, I
it's
saw
hard
that.
to categorize.
It was so good. That was a really good idea. Like content queen over here. Like
Just an influencer, you know how I be.
oh man.
I think unlike Alyssa, and I know Joy, you're in the same boat, the project I'm currently working on is my first completed project. So when I first finished that draft, like, you know, wrote the book in its original form, that felt rewarding because I was just like, wow, I did something I've never done. And then finishing the second draft, I think honestly was more rewarding than finishing the book period, because I was like, okay, this is now in a form where I'm actually impressed with myself. Like, I think the first one, I was like, I always knew I was capable of this. It was just a matter of like putting myself in the position and the circumstance to get there. And so, anyway, it felt rewarding. I don't really know what other word to use for that, but at the same time, it felt, what's that word? Anticlimactic. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
da, 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 and we're back into it. So,
Yeah.
especially when, like, I think with each draft, you get a clearer vision of what the project can be and is meant to be. So it's like maybe draft 2 exceeded my vision for what draft 2.
Oh, you froze a little bit.
Can you guys still hear me?
Oh, there
You're back.
There, you're back. You're
Okay,
back.
sorry, I had a little network lost button.
Yeah, you're totally fine.
Anyway, what I was saying was, I think because you get to know the project better and you get to kind of extend your craft better, especially with first projects. I'm sure that like the more I write, the better my writing will be. So future projects might not need such drastic change between each draft. But anyway, all this to say, it's a long drawn out version of saying that it's rewarding, but it feels ongoing, and that can be a little bit tiresome at times. And so, yeah, it's very different than I imagined, but it's so much better. And I do think the vision I have for it now, for where it's at versus the end product, doesn't feel like there's as big of a gap, which is so.
Maybe a little bit of a different perspective. I get really attached to my characters, so once I finish a book, it feels like saying goodbye to them in that sort of sense. I don't know, like to me, when I write a book, everything is canon and everything is new and everything is like how it should be in its own like sort of first capsule. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like quite sad that I'm not with them anymore and that their story has come to a full close. I write a lot of books where it's like standalone. And also the fact that when I write my stories, I move on to a completely different project as soon as I finish a book. I've like never really continued to write a book as soon as I finish the first draft, just kind of take a break and also work on something new. So I feel really sad just like saying goodbye to my characters. Kind of, yeah, it's kind of like how a movie ends, you know? You're like, you can't go on with them. There's no like, you can't turn the page. Like that's done, that's canon, that's the story. So a little bit sad.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I'll definitely feel that way once I'm done. So I'm planning for this to be a duology. So I'll be with these characters for a little while, longer than just one book. But like once I'm done, I think I will probably feel that way in a like it'll be rewarding, but also sad. But for like this first draft, I mean, I was emotional, like in the moment, just like, oh my gosh, like it was more of like sheer exhaustion because like I was just starting to get sick. I was so tired, but I was like so ready to like just call it done. And so it was just like this moment of like, oh my gosh, like just like relief and excitement. And like I cried a little bit because I was like, okay, this is like my first time doing this. But then like a few minutes after, like once I was like over it, I was like, oh, that's it. Like, like okay. And then I immediately started thinking of all of the things that I need to change, you know, in subsequent drafts. So it definitely like was rewarding, yes, but I feel so far from it being finished, like in any sense of the. Hi, Alphonse, are you visiting us again? You're picking your way. Okay. It just feels so. I don't know. Like I think that I did expect to feel like done with the book a little bit more, if that makes sense, like more ready to take a break, because at that point I was like, okay, I'm feeling so done, like almost sick of this book. But yeah, the second I finished the first draft, I was like, I want to dive back in. I want to like get back to like I have all these ideas now that I'm done. I'm like I want to get back to it. So it was kind of funny where I was exhausted and expecting to be sick of it, but then I felt the urge to dive back in. But I'm making notes for myself. I'm preparing for revisions, and I did kind of cheat and like went back and rewrote the first chapter already. But I feel like that was just to like get myself excited and started for like what it potentially will look like, so that after I'm done with like you know, a more full, complete stepping away from the project, I've like already kind of started it, and I can revisit and get excited about something that's more polished right away, if that makes sense. But yeah, I just feel ready to keep going, but I'm trying to not, so that I have a more fresh look at my draft. So I'm probably going to start working on some other stuff once I'm done preparing for revision, just to get my mind off of it, because yeah, now that I have like the momentum of writing, I feel like I don't want to stop ever. Especially, I also feel like the existential dread of like, what if I never get to write all of the stories I ever want to write in my lifetime? Like, oh my gosh, I better start. You know, I feel like I lost those 5 years where I wasn't writing anything. And now I'm like, well, I gotta get them all out now, you know? But anyway, on that note, do we want to do another sprint?
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right, we'll just do one more sprint and then we'll have to say our goodbyes, I think, because that'll take us to about 2 hours. But all right.
It's good.
We good to go? Okay. Good luck, everybody. Hello.
She's back in the light.
I got
Yes.
someone got a generator running, so
Aw.
let there be light.
Amazing. Yes. Love that. Well, I'm so relieved for you, Andy. Oh man. Well, that was that. How did everyone do?
Good. I finished the rough cut and then I decided to just start doing another edit of it. So I did not actually do any writing, but the video is
Oh,
getting
good.
close to being done. I feel like I keep not doing writing sprints during writing sprints, but you know, what are you going to do?
It's all good. You just got to do what you got to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I finished drafting the scene I needed to, so that's good.
That's so exciting.
I just continued working on my chapter, basically.
Nice.
Not a lot of words, but progress is progress, I think.
Yeah, I did more reverse outlining and brainstorming, and I got up to chapter 10, actually. So I did like another 5 chapters. But I have also my chapters are really long, so I might need to like divide them up further. I'm realizing because like there are a few times where like I was writing the verse outline and like I thought that I got to the end of the chapter and I was like, oh yeah, we're done. And then I went to the next chapter and I was like, oh wait, there's something missing. So I went back and I was like, oh, there was like a whole other scene. Like a whole other thing happened. So I think yeah, my chapters are very long. So yeah, it's okay though. But okay, well, with that, I think that we're just about done. Yeah.
Thanks
Thank you so much.
Joy.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, this was so fun. Thank you for coming on the stream. And starting with Alyssa, do you want to share just like where people can find you and like that sort of thing?
Absolutely. My YouTube channel is Alyssa and the Books. So that's mostly what I do generally. I also have an Instagram, Alyssa Writes Books. Don't really post anything over there. I did post one reel, but it was the first time I posted in like a year. So don't get too excited if you're going to go follow me on Instagram. If you happen to be a literary agent watching this, you can check out my email account and email me there.
Are there? Oh my gosh.
Interested. No.
That'd be crazy.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so that's all my plugs. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So good.
My channel, I am under Andy E. Sears. I can never remember if my handle is just Andy Sears or whatnot, but you can find me there. And I'm on Instagram as Sears Andy. That's not just a writing page, so enjoy.
Oh no.
Oh, you froze a little bit.
Well.
Oh, you're
Sorry
back.
about
You're
that.
back. You're fine.
Anyway, yeah, Andy Sears Andy on YouTube or Andy Sears or whatever, and I'm also on Instagram as Sears Andy, but that's not just a writing page. So what I was saying was enjoy learning about my life if you feel like you want to follow me there. If not, that's okay too.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joy, for this amazing stream. You can find me at Anna New. Also on Instagram as well as these beautiful girls, _ Anna New. And I have also something very exciting coming out soon. So
I'm very excited. Oh my goodness.
Love it.
Yes. And then you're on my channel, Write with Joy. I also do have an Instagram that it's Write with Joy, but with an extra Y because actual Write with Joy was taken. So it's fine. And yeah, I mean, I try to post here roughly once a week, and you know, I do mainly videos about like my like writing journey, writing vlogs, that sort of thing, but I do dip my toes a little bit into like the book sphere every so often, or like writing craft every so often. Those are a little bit less often, but sometimes I still like to dabble. And yeah, well, thank you so much everyone for joining us. This was a very fun stream. So bye.
Bye.
Such a beautiful voice, Joy.